So I think the hack a lot of people would do is if it was any one wish, they would wish for more wishes, right?
Exactly.
They would ask for infinite wishes. So what's the equivalent of the answer of asking for infinite wishes? It would be learning how to learn. Because if you can learn how to learn, the world is yours. Nobody who's listening and watching gets paid for their brute strength, it's their brain strength. It's not your muscle power, it's completely your mind power. The limitless model is an explanatory schema, a framework for learning anything faster. And not only that, but really for accessing our human potential. There's one infinite, limitless resource on planet Earth. It's human capability. There's no limit on our determination. There's no limit to our imagination. There's no limit to our creativity.
You got to become conscious of your unconscious thoughts. You got to start looking at those hardwired thoughts that you think every day that are just circuits that have been fired and wired together. You just have to sit down, close your eyes, and not move. When you begin to observe that thought, you're no longer the program now. You're the consciousness observing the program, and you're starting to pull out of the program. Who's doing the thinking of the thinking about the thinking? That's who you are when you're not the program. That's awareness, right?
Yeah.
You got to become aware of how you speak, how you act, become so conscious, so aware of it that you won't go unconscious and let that thought or that behavior run you. You got to say, oh my God, this feeling that I've been living by for the last 20 years is actually guilt. I didn't know it was guilt because it just feels like me. And all of a sudden, as you start becoming conscious of it, you're beginning to objectify your subjective self. You're pulling out of those programs.
You have to know what sparks the light in you so that you, in your own way, can illuminate the world.
I started listening to what felt like the truth for me. I was torn between what the world was saying to me and what I felt to be the truth for myself. It felt like an unnatural act for me reporting, although I knew that to a lot of people it was glamorous. I started to just inside myself think, what do I really want to do, what I really want to do. And I will say this, knowing what you don't want to do is the best possible place to be if you don't know what to do. Because knowing what you don't want to do leads you to figure out what is it you really do want to do. The truth is, I have from the very beginning listened to my instinct. All of my best decisions in life have come because I was attuned to what really felt like the next right move for me. So when I got the call to come to Chicago, after starting with a co-anchor and working in talk for several years, I knew that it was the right thing to do. Every single person, except my best friend Gail, said you're gonna fail. Every single person when I left, my bosses by this time thought I was terrific and said, you're walking into a landmine, you're gonna fail. Chicago's a racist city, you're black, you're not gonna make it. Everything to keep me sane. They then offered me a car and an apartment and all this stuff. And I said, no, if I fail, then I will find out what is the next thing for me, what is the next true thing.
It felt right to you, so you went for
Because
it.
it felt like this is now the move I need to make. And I was not one of those people, all of the people who worked with me in music would have their tapes and they'd have their stories and they'd have, resumes ready. I didn't have any of that because I knew that the time would come where what I needed would show up for me. And when that showed up, I was ready. Because my definition of luck is preparation meeting the moment of opportunity. And I was prepared to be able to step into that world of talk in a way that I knew I could do it. There's a wonderful phrase by Maya Angelou from a poem that she wrote called To Our Grandmothers, that she says, "When I come as one, but I stand as 10,000." So when I walk into a room, and particularly before I have something really challenging to do, or I'm going to be in a circumstance where I feel I'm going to be, up against some difficulties, I will literally sit and I will call on that 10,000. I will call on the ancestors. I will call on those people who've come before me. I will call on the women who forged a path that I might be able to sit in the room with all of those white men and love it so much. I call on that because I know that my being where I am, and first of all being who I am and where I am, didn't come just out of myself, that I come from a heritage. And so I own that and I step into that room, not just as myself, but I bring all of that energy with me. I started the process for myself of preparing myself. I had a vision for what the future was, even though I couldn't place exactly where my future would be. I knew who held the future, because I am really guided by a force that's bigger than myself.
If you were to write a book, what would your title be?
There is no real doing in the world without being first. For me, being, your presence, your connection to yourself and that which is greater than yourself is far more important than what you do, but also is the thing that fuels what you do. And I know that one of the things that is so important for what happens here is that you have leaders who are self-actualized and understand what your contribution to change the world can be. You can only do that if you know yourself. You cannot do it unless you take the time to actually know who you are and why you are here. Now, I happen to know for sure that every human being comes called, and that the calling goes beyond the definition of what your job is. That there is an innate, supreme moment of destiny for everybody. And that's why when I was in Baltimore, I could feel this isn't it, this isn't it. And then in Chicago, after 25 years of success on the show, I started to feel this isn't it, there's something more.